Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network. Any opinions or comments made by any guest are their own, and they do not necessarily reflect any of the presenters or network's opinions.
This is Sasha Christie, and you're listening to the Paranormal UK Radio Network, the UK's biggest paranormal network. And this is Paranormal Dimensions with David Young.
Hello, and welcome to another Paranormal Dimensions. Thank you for the introduction, Sasha. Now, Sasha Christie will be back a little bit later to join me on the show as co-presenter. We have another brilliant guest, Indigo Phoniex, making her third visit on the show. Right, once again, I'd like to say thank you very much for all the comments and messages that you send me. I'm just going to pick one out of a hat here, and this is by Bridget Van Den Bosch. I hope I pronounced that right. It says, "Hi David, really enjoy your podcast on the PA UK channel. As someone who's coming more from the psychic consciousness interest, it's really great to hear many of your guests connecting the dots with the UFO phenomenon. Anyhow, keep up the good work. Best wishes, Bridget." Well, thank you, Bridget. That's a very nice comment. And yes, many are connecting those dots, as you will know. I actually connected those dots myself just a couple of years ago, so there you go. I've also had some very positive comments about the track I played by my friend Preston Williams, who's a Canadian singer-songwriter who resides in London. It's his homage to Chief Seattle. It's his letter to US President Franklin Pierce in 1855. Well, I've been asked to play it again, so I guess I've got to. But I mean, it's always a pleasure to play anything by Preston. Normally, Preston makes a lot of rock music and is a brilliant guitar player. But this particular track, I think he did in a quiet moment, and I'm going to play it, and I hope you enjoy it. If you haven't heard it before, and also if you have heard it before, I hope you'll enjoy hearing it again.
The great chief in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land. The great chief also sends us words of friendship and goodwill. This is kind of him, since we know he has little need of our friendship in return. But we will consider your offer, for we know that if we do not sell, the white man may come with guns and take our land. How can you buy or sell the sky, the warmth of the land? The idea is strange to us. If we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of the water, how can you buy them? Every part of this earth is sacred to my people. Every shining pine needle, every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every clearing and every humming insect is holy in the memory and experience of my people. The sap which courses through the trees carries the memories of the red man. So when the great chief in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land, he asks much of us. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons of the earth. Man did not weave the web of life, he is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. But we will consider your offer to go to the reservation you have for my people. We will live apart and in peace. It matters little where we spend the rest of our days. Our children have seen their fathers humbled in defeat, our warriors have felt shame, and after defeat they turn their days in idleness and contaminate their bodies with sweet foods and strong drinks. It matters little where we spend the rest of our days. They are not many. A few more hours, a few more winters, and none of the great tribes that once lived on this earth or that now roam in small bands in the woods will be left to mourn the graves of a people once as powerful and hopeful as yours. But why should I mourn the passing of my people? Tribes are made of men, nothing more. Men come and go like the waves of the sea. Even the white man whose God walks and talks with him as friend to friend cannot be exempt from the common destiny. One thing we know which the white man may one day discover: our God is the same God. You may think now that you own him as you wish to own our land, but you cannot. He is the God of man, and his compassion is equal for the red man and the white. This earth is precious to him, and to harm the earth is to heap contempt on its creator. The whites too shall pass, perhaps sooner than all other tribes. Continue to contaminate your bed, and you will one night suffocate in your own waste. But in your perishing you will shine brightly, fired by the strength of the God who brought you to this land and for some special purpose gave you dominion over this land and over the red man. That destiny is a mystery to us, for we do not understand when the buffalo were all slaughtered, the wild horses are tamed, and the view of the ripe hills blooded by talking wires. Where is the thicket? Gone. Where is the eagle? Gone. And what is it to say goodbye to the swift pony in the hunt, the end of living and the beginning of survival? So we will consider your offer to buy the land. If we agree, it will be to secure the reservation you have promised. There perhaps we may live out our brief days as we wish. When the last red man has vanished from this earth, and his memory is only the shadow of a cloud moving across the prairie, these shores and forests will still hold the spirits of my people. For they love this earth as a newborn loves its mother's heartbeat. So, if we sell our land, love it as we've loved it. Care for it as we've cared for it. Hold in your mind the memory of the land as it is when you take it. And with all your strength, with all your mind, with all your heart, preserve it for your children and love it as God loves us all. One thing we know: our God is the same God. This earth is precious to him. Even the white man cannot be exempt from the common destiny. We may be brothers after all. We shall see.
There we are, that's Preston Williams, Canadian singer-songwriter who, as I said, lives in London. Check him out on YouTube. As always, if you'd like to get in touch with me, my email address is davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. That's davidyoung2qn, that's all one word, @yahoo.co.uk. Okay, on with the show. Joining me today is the lovely Sasha Christie, returning again to co-host with me. Hello, Sasha.
Hi, David.
How are you? What have you been up to?
I'm good. Not much. Kids are all off, aren't they? With the Easter holidays, so we've been doing the old Easter egg thing.
Oh, yeah.
Just for the kids. It's just, not much. Just same old, same old. It's lockdown, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, what day was it? Was it Saturday? It was really hot down here. And
Yeah.
was it the day before? What day is it today? Monday. Right. Anyway, but today it's freezing cold. So it was baking hot yesterday. He was sitting in the garden, and today it's freezing cold. So you can't get it either way, can you? It was either, they did say it was snow. We did have a couple of snowflakes come down. So.
Oh, we didn't have that. No, we did. My son came round with my grandkids and his missus, and we had a nice day out in the garden. He's got a little puppy now. Well, I say little, he's not very little, to be fair. He's 16 weeks old. Right. But he's about the same size as a fully grown Staffordshire Bull Terrier.
Oh, my God. They'll have your arm off, they will.
Yeah, so chewing up the garden and running around like a loony. Yeah, it was nice. It was really nice to be able to do that, because we haven't been able to do that for a long time.
That's right, no. And of course, we've not been able to sit in our new garden, because since we've moved, so that was like the first afternoon we've been able to sit out, in our new garden, which is quite nice. Which hopefully you'll see sometime when you get a chance to come down.
I was talking to Indigo earlier, actually, because she wants to go to Suffolk to do the whole Rendlesham Forest thing.
Yeah.
So, we probably will be down that way at some point.
That's right. Well, I mean, obviously you come via my way in Essex, and then we can all go up there together.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Because I live in Essex now, not Suffolk.
Aye, Essex boys.
But anyway, you've already mentioned Indigo. As you know, I thought it would be good to get you back on the show again, because we had a good time last time when we were talking to Indigo. And I know she's got a lot of things she wants to say that, because it's quite worrying times for everybody at the moment. And I think she's been having quite a few, I don't know, what would you call them? Premonitions? Yeah.
Well, she's out and scouts the universe, I think, and then just sees all these things going off and then writes them on a Facebook page. And since we've done that show, we've been talking a lot. And so every time I read one of her predictions and then I see something, I have to put it on the page, so, because most of it's coming true.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's scary stuff, really, a lot of it. And I'm just hoping she's going to give us some positive things out of it. But
yeah. There is a shift going on, though. I think with all it, that everybody feels a little bit more hopeful at the moment, because we've got maybe the situation that we're in won't be as severe by June in this country, at least. Even if we can't travel abroad, we might be able to move around in our own country. So I think the sun come in, and hopefully some good news from resident psychic.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we can hope for at the moment. I mean, luckily, I don't think I was really planning to go abroad this year anyway. But it'd be nice to just be able to go somewhere, just anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel about it at the moment. But, I'd go anywhere now, but nothing's open, so there's not much point going anywhere. That's the only thing. But, I suppose, all right, we ought to just get on with the show and bring Indigo in. I'll just tell you what, I'll just open this big heavy door and let her in. Hello, Indigo. Welcome back to the show.
Hey guys, it's great to be back.
Hi.
Hey, Sasha.
We had a fantastic talk last time you were on the show, and I'll just say it to Sasha. I think you've got quite a few things you'd like to say and bring out, and I'm hoping you'll leave us with a few positive things at the end of it.
Oh, well, no pressure on my side then. It's a difficult one because, as I'm quite vocal, anyone that follows my Facebook and sort of my predictions, I have to stick to what I see, the truth. And, I'm all for sort of positivity and sort of, looking at the positive. But it's difficult because all I can do is sort of present the information, and obviously everyone is just wanting good news, including me, you know.
Yeah.
But as a sort of genuine psychic, I have to sort of show what I get. And the thing is, normally when you're predicting world events, it's not all sunshines and rainbows, and I think that's what kind of makes me different from sort of quite a few of the other psychics and sort of people out there that are sort of maybe not sharing what they're getting. You know, it's a balance, you know. With negativity, there is always a positive side, but I think it's about mindset. And I think what you do with the information is the key thing, because essentially what I do and why I do this, it's all about empowering people, you know. Like, the truth might not always be what we want to hear, but essentially the truth will set us free, you know. So in a lot of ways, I do feel that there are changes, there are major shifts coming up that are more positive, considering where we were in 2020. I mean, let's face it, 2020 has been one hell of a ride. And the start of 2021, as I sort of predicted at the end, it went out with a bang. And I did pre-warn that the start of 2020 was equally going to be explosive.
You did.
I do still feel that we have got some explosive things to be coming, but I do think the next sort of coming months are going to be more stabilizing, considering where we've been for the last sort of 18 months. So yeah, there are some positivity coming up. I do think we're going to feel more free, as I've always stated. Anyone that's followed me, I've stated that always around June and July, and I've stated this from like last year, that it would start to feel better, that we would start to feel like we're getting our freedom back. You know, we would see us coming out of lockdown. You know, I do think some air travel will start to happen around sort of July. I do feel that we're going to start feeling almost like less sort of in prison. I think we're going to see some of the restrictions kind of lightening up a little bit. So that's really, really positive. I think there's going to be a sense of some sort of normality coming in. But this year it's all about major transformation, and it's all about a great purge, really. It's all about everything coming to the surface. And the thing is, when we go through transformation and rebirth, because that's what it is, and even on the astrology side, with where the planets are at and aligning, it is literally a rebirthing. And when we go through that, it's almost like, you know, when you're sick and you go to the doctors and you get sort of antibiotics, the first sort of week, you're going through a crisis period. It's the crisis healing of where it gets worse before it gets better. So that's kind of where we're at now. But with the transformation, I do think it's going to birth in great change. And I think the most positive thing in all of this, we're seeing that more and more people are awakening. Even like the people that we, you know, didn't think would, or even like what we call sort of the people that are very much into the mainstream, are starting to ask questions. You know, they're actually saying, you know, look, there's something more going on here than meets the eye. You know, they're getting more sort of inquisitive, they're getting more spiritual, more people are turning to holistic ways, and you know, looking into taking care of their health, which is super positive. And I think that more major things are going to be coming out in the next coming months. I've always stated this, that a big spotlight is going to be shining on a lot of things, and a lot of stuff in the media is going to be coming out on every level, with the politicians, with the political sides, with space, with the UFO sides, with more disclosure, more activity happening in space, with space programs, technology. I mean, this is going to be a great year. It's going to be a very powerful year and intense. And I think it's all going to be about us taking back our power. People rising up and actually going, you know what? I'm not going to be controlled anymore. I'm not going to be dictated to. I'm going to actually ask questions. And I think that's where we're going to see the positive changes coming in.
Yeah. I think you're right. I've seen quite a change in people's attitudes. And it does seem to have grown a lot more, that people are starting to ask questions. I think, do you agree with that, Sasha?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen a few people who've like really, really reached the limit of things now.
Yeah.
You know, there's people suffering the change of their business habits and what they can and can't do because of Brexit. So you know, there's a few people, well, quite a few people that are really still struggling, but some of us are now starting to feel that maybe the light is at the end of the tunnel. There's lots of people having the vaccinations and feeling like that, you know, they've done some good towards the greater good of the country, and there's other people saying, well, you know, I'm not doing it, I'm not getting that vaccine. There's a lot of tension still, but I think because it's coming to summer as well, everyone's starting to lighten up a little bit, and the thought of being able to move around by June, July really is sort of a nice thing to kind of look forward to, because we've had enough now, haven't we?
As I say, whether you're vaccinated or not, you should be able to move about anyway, shouldn't you?
Oh, I agree, absolutely, yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm totally do what you want. Don't get it, you know, whatever makes you feel good about your day. You know, yeah, I just think it's about time that we could all, like earlier on, I could hear the kids playing out. There was a few kids playing out in the street. I have not heard that for ages, so that was nice.
I did when I went over the field with the dogs yesterday, and today, they was playing football and all that. It was great. They had like an organised football match going on, which is great to see after all this time.
Yeah. Of life.
I'll tell you what I find a little bit worrying, Indigo. You were talking about war between nations. Do you still see that on the cards?
Yeah, 100. I'm so sorry. That's my Frenchie in the background. If you hear with snorting.
Oh right, I thought it was you for a minute, but.
Thank you, Bella. I'm training her up to be a psychic. But So yeah, I do see that. Now, I've had a lot of questions, and people are like, what do you mean? What do you mean when you say, you know, spiritual warfare and also like a divide and war? Because I've been saying this as well at the start of sort of the year, and at the end of sort of 2020, I stated that I saw, you know, a massive divide coming between the people, and also civil unrest, and then also like a splitting, and I think we've already got that. And I'll go into details of what I mean, like with the sort of war between the nations and the civil unrest between two people. We're seeing that. We've got very much, you know, one side, you know, with the vaccinations and stating that, you know, that's the only way forwards and this is how we're going to get our freedom back. And then we've got the side that are asking questions about the vaccination, you know, and wanting to see sort of more evidence about it. And, you know, quite rightly so, wanting to know what they're putting into their body. And then you've got the sort of other side being divided, and almost with the media, you know, playing games, you know, the constant divides and sort of division and turning people against each other, making, you know, the vaccination people feel that, you know, the non-vaccination people are basically, you know, keeping them in lockdown more, and that they're, you know, causing more of a risk to society, and vice versa. So it's a difficult one, conquer and divide. So there's a lot of psychological warfare going on here. So we're already seeing that, you know, we're seeing it on Facebook, we're seeing it on the media, we're seeing it outside. There's still tension, there's massive fear that's being created by the media. People are still very much in fear. You know, even when we're going out and stuff, you know, we're still seeing people scared to touch each other, scared to go near each other, scared to people.
Yeah, that's so sad. I find that so sad. I really do.
It's heartbreaking, you know, because humans aren't meant to live like this. And there's going to be massive psychological sort of issues and problems that we're going to see in the younger generation. Yeah. You know, mark words, you know, the younger children, especially, you know, 10, 12, 13-year-olds, early teens, you know, in the next coming years, you're going to see that there's going to be some major mental health issues and problems, especially with the teens and the children, sadly, due to all of this and the implications of obviously what's going on. So there's that side of it. But equally, I do feel that we are still quite unstable politically. I do still feel that there's going to be some major issues coming up on a world level, linking with sort of different countries, which I've mentioned. The difficult thing is, which I've noticed, and I don't know if you felt this, Sasha, but this is what I said at the start as well, that I almost feel like we're on two different timelines. And I feel like they're being sped up, making it harder to pinpoint times and dates. And equally with the two different timelines, it's basically changing different things. So as a psychic, it's incredibly hard, and other psychics have come forwards and actually said this as well, you know, because we've seen two different timelines playing out around the Trump side of things, the Biden side of things, the vaccinations and the passports. I mean, I've stated at the start, I've always felt that, you know, we're going to be going into the passport side, the health passports and the vaccination. I've always felt this. This isn't new news to me. And people still feel that, you know, they can sort of, you know, maybe that it's not going to happen, but I've always felt like that.
I think it is. They were talking about vaccine passports on the news earlier on, so that's going to be a thing. But, you know, at first I think it's just going to be like companies will say, well, if you want to fly with us, you have to have the vaccine. But equally, there'll be companies saying, you don't have to have the vaccine, just fly with us. You know, like, I don't know, Jet2 or whatever. One of the lower end priced flight companies will probably say that you don't need a vaccine to fly with them. There'll be pubs that say, Wetherspoons, for example, you don't need a vaccine to come in here. There'll be all kinds of, you know, because people don't like being told what to do. No. Not everyone's a just because the government are saying this, that and the other, people aren't doing it because they want to do it. Quite often we've got no choice. We're just forced into things.
Absolutely.
Companies are forced into things and laws pop up or, you know, fines for this, that and the other. So, you know, they make it very difficult for you to resist. But there will be, I believe that there will be a counter movement where various companies will just say, you don't need a vaccine in here.
I think the problem there is, it's going to be countries that will say you need a vaccine to come in, isn't it? And of course, it's quite easy for them to get together and do that.
When I went to Thailand, I had to have typhoid and some other vaccine. And I was like, literally, I don't care if you put dog crap in my arm, I want to go to Thailand. So basically, whatever I have to have, I will have that, just because I want to travel. So, you know, you have to have various vaccines. You have to have yellow fever if you go to Africa or Saudi, or, you know. You have to have various vaccines to be able to travel and go into certain countries. It's just another one. For travellers, this is just another vaccine on top of all the other vaccines that they will have already had.
But of course, people will argue that it's not a vaccine. You know, we won't get into that, what it actually is, but people will argue that it's not a vaccine as such. You know.
Well, yeah, but that's pedantics, and that's not about, you know, it. You know, people do have vaccines to go to work. They do, you know, hepatitis is one. I've had that. You know, I didn't get any childhood vaccines, but as an adult, I've made decisions to have several vaccines, and 2 of them were a requirement for travel. So I was like, yeah, do it, because I'm going.
No, I can see that. Yeah.
Then do it. You know what I mean? So I didn't care then. And hepatitis because I was handling glasses a lot, and it's in mucous membrane, so I was working in pubs, so I had that vaccine because I didn't want to get that.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is different. This is really rapidly produced, but to say that so many millions of people have had it, there's not that many disasters. You know, so I don't know. I'm just like that. So everybody, you do what you do what you feels right for you. I understand why people are scared. Like, you know, Indigo's just said, the media really ramp it all up, and you know, people. I've seen that adverts are tailored now to ethnic groups because they're the ones, you know, not getting the vaccine at all, which is understandable if you know the history of vaccines in Africa. You know, there's horror stories abound, so I understand, you know, both sides. I really do. It's difficult.
Yeah, as I say, we don't want to make this all about vaccines, but I think we've all got our own opinions on it, and I think everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I think it's when other people try to enforce their opinion, you know, telling other people what they should be doing. I think that's where you've got to draw the line, isn't it?
I don't think passports should be a thing. I really am against anything like that.
Yeah, well, I think most of us should be, you know. Because I mean, we're really going towards fascism if we agree that passports should be,
Papers.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, the thing that Indigo, going back to this thing about war between nations, we've seen there's a bit of saber rattling with the Russians and the Americans again now. Do you see that going anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, going back to sort of what I was saying about the two different timelines, because they're really important here, and just to sort of finish off the vaccination side of stuff, I almost feel like nothing is set in stone, and that's where the positive side is, because I've always been stating that, to sort of get out of this, we have to go within, and without sounding like really cliche here, I really feel that, again, this year, it's all about major sort of manifestation, it's all about our mindsets, it's all about taking back our power. And I really feel it rests on the people. I mean, we've seen major, protests, and there's been huge hundreds and hundreds of turnout of people sort of, fighting for their rights, but fighting for freedom. And I really do feel it all depends on what we do and don't do as a nation now. So it's kind of like the balance, the scales, nothing is set in stone. Yeah. And this is why it's so difficult currently as a psychic, because as I said, there's two different timelines where it can go either which way, and that leads to the same thing with sort of war. As I've stated as well with the past predictions, how I do it, I go into the Akashic records. The Akashic can be linked with past, present, and also the future. But I do feel that we are going to see some sort of unstability still to come. And I do think, there's going to be some issues with Russia. I put a post up today about, I think it was a post about sort of Russia starting to flare up again. I don't feel that we're going to go into complete, World War III. I've always stated this. I just feel that it's going to just get a little bit sort of unstable again. I do see that there may well be an important figure on the Russian side to pass over by the end of this year, which could make things more unstable. China's always been a bit of an issue anyway, but it's more of the silent a silent threat, I guess, that, people aren't really seeing. There's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and everyone is very wrapped up in the whole COVID, the whole vaccinations, passports, protests. It's distracting them. I do think, like I said, the next coming months there's going to be some sort of explosive things coming up, which, as I said, there will be some major truths coming out on the political sides. I do feel that we're going to see some clashes there, and I do think there may be some sort of issues in the Middle East as well, and I do feel like possibly Turkey as well. I haven't seen anything massively set in stone as such. I just feel like we need to just keep our eye on it, around Russia, signs of things, and China. But I do think we're going to see more sort of more issues with the people, less than the countries. As I said, I really feel that there's going to be more sort of political protests happening, where you're going to see sort of army interventions or sort of police interventions. There's going to be some tension coming up there with more people stepping out. I think as we see the passports coming out, which they will do, I really feel that's coming, we're going to start seeing more riots and stuff, as I sort of mentioned before. And there's a lot of unease with the police at the moment as well, and I do feel we're going to start seeing more of an army sort of presence happening in different countries there. As I said, I think June and July is going to be quite positive. Okay, it's going to almost feel quite pleasant, everything is almost back to normal-ish. But I think after that, after June and July, I think that's when we're going to see things start to flare again. I think we're going to have more issues with the economy side of things. That's when the economy side is going to really start to kick in, on the financial side of stuff. And also I do feel that potentially, there could be more restrictions to come. But again, nothing is fully set in stone. It depends on what we do now, if that makes sense.
So, do you see any court? Sorry, I interrupted a little bit there. Do you see any court cases coming up with political figures?
Yeah, I do. I do think, again, as I said with the timelines, I saw it happening a little bit before, and a lot of people become very disheartened. And this is what I keep saying about the timelines here, because around sort of Feb, March, I really was seeing that, a lot of stuff is coming to the surface because we're going through a great purge. And I think we're going to see a lot of more sex scandals coming up. I think we're going to hear more about sort of the child sex rings and things coming back up. We're going to start seeing sort of corruption. We're going to see, again, I feel with the voting sides and corruption there, all, you know, being brought up once more. I do really feel that the next coming months will be becoming more political, but with them being put in the spotlight, you know, and I do really feel that there's going to be some major, like, crimes against humanity coming out. It's going to be interesting, definitely. There's definitely going to be some massive scandals to hit the news in the coming months. I feel 2 months maximum. But again, I hate timelines because I said they change. And, you know, people hear this and they're like, oh my God, it didn't happen in 2 months, and they lose faith and doubt. But trust me, by the end of the year, there's going to be major stuff on the political front, linking with, as I said, sort of the paedophilia sides, the corruption sides, the voting and the fraud and all that kind of stuff coming up. But equally, I do feel we're going to get more freak weather, and I sort of mentioned this as well. Like, you know, I really do feel that we're going to have some major incidents coming back up. I think there's going to be some major sort of floods happening. I think we're going to have a few more earthquakes coming in, and possibly even tornado in America. I see floods around the American side. So it's going to be some more crazy weather coming. I mean, it's very all over the place. 1 minute it's sunshine, the next it's snow in the desert. You know, some crazy stuff going on at the moment. It is a very crazy year, like Alice in Wonderland. It's very unpredictable. I do think we're going to see some major terror attacks as well happening too.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny. That's been very quiet with terrorist attack-wise, isn't it, over the last sort of 4 years? And now we seem to be sort of going back that way again.
Well, I don't think Brexit has helped the island situation. So, you know, there's a lot of upset.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, I think a few countries, or a couple, not a few, maybe two, I've read about are pulling away from the Commonwealth. You know, there's kind of a lot of sovereignty going on. That's a good thing, though, you know. Don't want to be political like that, but, yeah. And I seen the other night that some incidents had happened in Ireland. Explosions. I didn't really look into it that much, but I thought...
Yeah, I think there's been a few petrol bombs been flying about, hasn't there, again? With the...
yeah.
Thrown at police.
I just saw something on fire on the news and that it was Ireland, and I just thought, oh, not again.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if it's linked to the lockdowns or is it something separate, or is it something that's always been bubbling around?
Well, there's been some changes because the Good Friday Agreement, I think, but yeah, I think it might be over borders because of Brexit. That's been a worry for quite a while. Yeah. You know, I think something might erupt from that.
Anyway, Indigo, I mean, and since we've got Indigo and Sasha, we're going to talk a bit about witchcraft as well, aren't we, I think, between us? Although really, well, I was hoping you would do, because, I mean, really, I don't know too much about it myself, but I think, Sasha, you had an idea you might talk a bit about witchcraft with Indigo.
Well, we do talk about that quite a lot, don't we, dear?
There's one little thing that has always puzzled me. What is the thing about toads with witches?
Toads. All right. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where that came in. Another pointy hat came in because women were brewers. They brewed the beer. They wore a tall hat to stand out in the crowd. And they had a broom which they would hang above the shop door when the beer was ready, and because people didn't read then, so there was like visual signals.
Oh, right.
The cat was to catch the rats, and the cauldron was to boil the wort to make the beer. So that's how they became old hag. And then when they demonised the women brewing beer, they turned them into horrible hags, and said that they were poisoning people, and insisted that everybody use hops. So there was a war on the women brewers, and that's how it all came about. So,
well, I've just learned something else. I didn't know that.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't know where that's come from. Maybe a fairy tale.
Yeah, sorry, it's just one of those things that's always crossed my mind. I thought, well, what is it about toads?
Don't know. Indigo, we both have a very different approach to energy work. I mean, you can call it witchcraft if you want. It is, but it's also it's manipulating energy, isn't it? It's manifesting things, because we do manifest things all the time, and we decide to have them or create things or go and get things in our minds, and then everything that we do then kind of pours into this. But the way I do it and the way Indigo does it is very different. Indigo is more shamanic, where I'm more, kind of folky magic rather than, shamanic journeying. So maybe you can tell us about that, because I don't really know very much about what Indigo does.
So, there's sort of two sides, actually. I'm not sort of more journeying. So basically, obviously, my background with I'm a psychic medium, but also I do a lot of healing. So for my healing, it's got nothing to do with witchcraft. So obviously, I'm trained in quantum healing and quantum physics, and then I am trained in sort of shamanism, but that's only really come about the last sort of couple of years. I kind of follow many different sort of schoolings, but predominantly I follow more Santeria and the hoodoo and root workers way. I have since sort of 17 upwards. I mean, the paganism is great, but again, it's a stepping stone. I just kind of was always drawn more to that side of things. So obviously when I'm with clients and stuff, I do work from sort of a shamanic side. I open up space, call in sort of my shamanic guides, I guess, the four corners. I do it a bit differently to the sort of paganism of calling the four elements. It's similar but different. And then when I work on them, I mean, I do extraction work. I do, again, like healing and stuff. So with that side of things, that's more shamanic, I guess, especially with the extraction side of things. But when I'm not with a client and I'm not doing sort of healing, then if I'm in my personal space or I'm doing my own kind of work, then that's more sort of Santeria or the hoodoo root workers way. Sometimes there will be some crossovers there. I get clients that, ask me, look, can you help me? I've got a bit of a problem. What would you advise? Sometimes, depending on the situation, I might do sort of some witchcraft side to kind of like help with removal of obstacles or psychic protection or talismans and amulets. Again, I might work with the shamanic principle, or I might introduce some Santeria, but the thing is I use a whole combination and mixture, and I think that's the beauty of sort of witchcraft, because there's no set in stone one thing. There's so many different ways you can work, from chaos magic to Wicca to Santeria to Judean. There's no right or wrong, and I think that's what appealed to me, especially as being quite a rebellious teenager. I've never liked being told what to do. I don't like being told that I have to worship in a certain way. It never felt right to me, and I think especially with witchcraft, it's about worshipping the elements. It's natural. It's going back to the basis and just reconnecting us with ourselves, and again taking back our power, because we are the creators. We can manifest. We can, if we don't like something, we change it. As simple as that. But I think there is a lot of confusion. I think there is a lot of sort of false information in the media, especially, the whole Eye of Newt Toad, things like that, it's seen as a bit of a joke. And again, sometimes people aren't realistic.
But there's a basis in that, there is, because they would rename whatever it was that they were using in their recipes so that nobody could steal their recipes. So they would rename Mandrake, Eye of Newt, or whatever. So historically, there's little, there's basis in things.
Oh, some of like code words, were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of witches back in the day, they couldn't really read or or write properly, and especially with the tarot cards and stuff, about how they, you know, sort of came about. You know, they were really essentially like symbols. And again, with the rune symbols, so that others couldn't understand them. They couldn't, you know, the normal mainstream wouldn't be able to know what they meant. You know, it's all symbols and codes and stuff. But I think as well,
different alphabets that have been created, witches' alphabets. There's quite a few.
Rings, stones, bones. But I think, again, with the media, mainstream media, it's about being realistic, because I think a lot of the films and that have, you know, sensationalized it. And again, I found when clients come, and even for healing, you know, or when I've done seances and stuff, they expect like levitating tables or like crazy phenomena. Now, it can happen, but it doesn't happen often, and it's not on the level of like Hollywood. And I always say to a client, you know, you've got to be realistic as well, depending on what they're wanting, you know, spell-wise and stuff, you know.
Well, you have to plug the energy into it. It's not like Harry Potter where you wave your wand and it happens immediately right there in a spectacular like shower of sparks. It doesn't happen like that in front of us, but it's about energy, isn't it? So you have to pour yourself into it if you want to. And as we were talking about earlier, about removing obstacles and things like that, clearing the pathway, we often think that that's going to remove everything, so that we don't have to do the work. But in actual fact, what it does, it brings everything in so that you have to do the work. So when you try and clear obstacles because you're being lazy, then you're in for a shock, because the opposite actually happens, because the obstacles are usually you.
Yeah, and that's where
ourselves, I mean.
And that's kind of where going within is key, and also shadow work, and also again about being very Pacific. Because a lot of people, going back to law of attraction, you know, whatever you call it, you know, some people are like, oh, I hate witchcraft, you know, it's evil, but I do law of attraction. It's all the same thing. It's just energy, whatever you want to call it. But you have to be Pacific. You've got to be very key and very Pacific with what you're asking for. You know, because you're going to get it, but people kind of don't always think about what they're asking. As you just said, you know, like removal of obstacles, okay? What obstacles? All obstacles? When, how, what, why, at what date? You know, people are not that Pacific. They don't think it all through. So it's all about the detail. As I say, the devil's in the detail.
Yeah. Well, I started out on chaos magic, really. I mean, kind of candle magic and little things like that, because, you know, there weren't that many books around. I wasn't very good at taking the library books back. So I didn't often go to the library because it always cost me money. So, you know, in like the 80s, 90s, there wasn't, you had to buy books. You didn't have all this information that we have now. It's very easy to gain knowledge. But it's also easy to, perform, witchcraft and do spells without much knowledge, because it's kind of an innate thing anyway. So like, we do it when we light candles on birthday cakes and make wishes and blow them out, you know, things like that. We still have it in our culture, in our behaviour, but we don't even know what it is that we're doing. So like at Christmas, when you leave offerings out to the Saint of Christmas and his familiar Rudolph, you know, it's all entwined in our society, and the fact that spelling is words and words are spells, that's not an accident. But we're all doing it a lot anyway, without even realising.
Yeah, many people are partaking in witchcraft every single day without realising.
Yeah, something I've never thought about. When you have your birthday cake and your candles, there's something else that you just think, oh, well, they just give you a candle for every year that you've been on the planet. But there's more to it, obviously, than that.
It's, you make a wish.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, make a wish. I'll tell you something else I always think about, Indigo. In your psychic ability way, can you actually see into other dimensions, and can you see beings, strange beings and things? Do you get visions of them?
Yeah, I do. I've on both sides. I mean, I do plant-based medicines and plant-based ceremonies, which are obviously like psychedelic. So on that side of things, I have seen sort of different dimensions because I've learned to sort of harness that and travel to different sort of dimensional places. And that's what sort of sometimes shamans will do. You know, they will take the medicines before they journey to be able to then go deeper into the different dimensions and journeying. I don't need to take plant-based medicines or psychedelics for me to have vision, but I found it interesting to try sort of both sides of that, you know, with sort of medicines and without medicines, and equally they're very interesting. You know, I have times when, you know, it happened to me last night actually. I was coming back in the cars at like a traffic lights, and was with my partner, and I looked to my right, and all of a sudden I just jumped, like there was a person sort of standing at the windscreen looking in, scared the living daylights out of me, and then I blinked and it was gone. You know, and I realised, oh my God, it was an earthbound. It wasn't actually it wasn't sort of a physical person. I've had other times when, you know, I've been coming back and super tired, you know, between sort of sleep and awake, and I'm seeing like flashes of weird like shadow beings on the side of the road. At night time, I've seen weird things floating into my bedroom, or waking up in the middle of the night, going to the toilet and seeing things, or when I've actively tried to sort of journey for people or just trying to retrieve information. I've seen sort of interesting sort of creatures from different dimensions. And what I've come to realize is that, you know, people talk about sort of this realm, they talk about, you know, another realm like heaven, and, you know, the shamanic side, they talk about middle, lower and upper. But I've come to realize through sort of my practice of the plant-based medicines and without them, there's hundreds of different dimensions. And not just one or two or three, there's hundreds. And there's many different beings. And again, with the witchcraft side of things, you know, different sort of entities that I'm sort of working with or drawing on, deities and things like that. And also there's many different elementals, especially out in nature when I go to the forest, you know. There are many different sort of energies sort of flying around in the ether. It's incredible, actually, and there's still things that I probably don't even know or will understand. You know, in this lifetime, I just can't. There's just so much sort of things that, you know, even my mind still cannot understand or comprehend. But I know that they're real, and I know that there are many more dimensions that are around us, simultaneous. And that's what we mean when we say different timelines sort of playing out, different realities.
And it sounds like it can still scare you sometimes too.
100%. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sort of human. And, you know, as much as sort of I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, and, you know, I deal with the paranormal, I deal with death on a day-to-day basis in spirit, you know, it does still scare me at times. You know, I have seen some sort of quite scary things. I've had, like, things thrown at me out of nowhere. I've had things teleport. I've had, you know, like, I actually had my curtains set alight out of nowhere. Wow. Literally nowhere. My curtains went up in flames. I was working with a client at the time. I had been doing a lot of work with them, and I was dealing with quite a heavy attachment that they had. So often when a client has that kind of energy, everything is just energy. I don't really like to call it a demon as such. I just see it as energy. And they had very negative attachment there. So often I find, once I start working with a client and I start to identify it and it sees me and it knows that it's literally, its time's running out, I'll start to get chaos in my house. It could be up to 2 weeks, it could be a week before, it could be a week after, it could be doing the sort of the healing as well. But I always know there's going to be crazy activity happening where I get attacked, or where, you know, I've literally been hit by a car, or literally where my curtains have just set spontaneously, like, combusted. And I know it sounds really far-fetched, but it happens. And anyone else who deals in this kind of stuff will also testify to the similar stuff. You know, and I'm not going to lie, it's scary at times, but I've learned to not feed the fear. Because I've learned, especially when it comes to these kind of energies or these attachments, they feed it, it magnifies it, and you cannot feel the fear. You have to kind of push through that and remove that. And that's the same with everything, even now. That's why I've kind of been reluctant to go with the fear base and all the kind of stuff that's been happening. I've just been sort of going, you know what? No, I'm not going to feed it, because where you put your attention to, where you put your energy to, your attention flows. So you're going to manifest it more and more and more. And I'm not going to give my power to it. And I'm always very careful where I put my energy.
Yeah, the reason I was mentioning about dimensional beings and things as such, I was just wondering about things, when you hear things like the abominable snowman, you know, the Yeti, and or things like vampires, etc., could they well be interdimensional beings? That sometimes...
Vampires are people, they steal your energy.
Psychic vampires, yeah, and there are people that actually drink blood and actually who get a kick, get a rush. I mean, the antichrome, I mean, that's vampiric. As Sasha said, you know, there are a lot of what we call energy vampires, but there are people that are participating in sort of blood magic, sex magic.
Indeed, yeah.
They've always done that, though. I mean, that's always been...
This time, but again, these sort of creatures, elements, or etheric things have been here from, you know, the start of time as well.
Speaking, there's barely any blood magic going on now. I mean, nobody sacrifices anybody. You know, it's rare that animals are even sacrificed. Maybe, you know, chickens and goats and the cow or pig, but not like it used to be. You know, all deities were given animal sacrifice, dogs, you know, so blood magic is not really much of a thing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to clarify again, because again, a lot of people get confused. They think when they hear sort of blood magic, they automatically think, satanic or evil or, you know, pedophilia. No. It's not. And I just clarify that actually, you know, blood magic, everything is intent, okay? So there's blood magic that isn't actually evil at all. Blood magic can sometimes be protective. And there's a big difference between, you know, what we've seen in the media with the sort of the anti-crime side of things, which is, you know, it's being used, you know, for the blood of, you know, ritualistic killing of children and things like that, you know.
Well, I just that's now sort of being changed into blood transfusions. People can't drink blood. Your body throws it up. You can't digest it. Or your body rejects it. The only way that you can take the blood of anybody into your body is literally into your veins. So there are blood transplants of teenage blood. You know, that's the thing. It's £8,000. You can do it. It's a real thing. You know.
Yeah, so. It's happened a lot, and you physically can't, as you say quite rightly, Sasha. You know, people still, they do it, but they're not drinking gallons and gallons and gallons. I think, you know, in Britain, you know, with the side of things, you know, as Sasha said, you know, a lot of people don't like doing that. You know, there's different ways of now doing it where you don't need to sacrifice any animals or use any, you know, form of blood. Blood magic is very specific, same as sex magic. Again, it's all coming from an energy. I think, you know, it still does go on quite a lot in the tribes, you know, especially the Vidain tribes and also out in the desert and different places.
Well, yeah, in lots of places. But it's not, you know, kind of Western culture. It's not really a thing. In ancient Greece, they used to sacrifice dogs to Hecate. You know, there'd be absolute bedlam now if people were sacrificing dogs. So, people's translation of that now is to actually adopt a dog or care for a dog in some way. You know, because the offering was for her to have the dog in spirit. But that's just not a thing now. I mean, you go to China, they have the festivals, but it's all about food. Or Vietnam or wherever it goes, when they have those awful events where they eat animals like dogs and cats. Yeah. But, you know, to them, it's just another food source. We're outraged, and they're just like, what? It's an animal. What's the difference between a dog and a cow? You know.
Yeah, so, I think it's the way they eat them, and I think they sort of boil them alive and things like that, isn't it? I think that's the that's what we can't bear to think of, you know.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like you're into Santeria, and I kind of, like, let's say I started off in chaos. So in chaos, you kind of go all over the place. You do, like, you'll look into all different systems and basically just bastardize them and use that energy line. So I kind of dipped in and out of a lot of different systems and kind of got a very superficial, I guess, but vast overview of quite a lot of systems. And in the end, I stopped doing all of that and just kind of settled in on my own rhythm, which is kind of, I would say, New Orleans style hoodoo, not actual hoodoo or voodoo. It's a very muted version of it. But I also like to work with different deities that are the archetypal patterns, so I don't actually have a set system that I use that you could label. It's just my own groove from everything that I know. But when you look at my setup and you look at Indigo's setup, it's completely different. You've got drums and rattles and things like that, haven't you?
But that's more the shamanic side. That's not the witchcraft side of things. And again, it depends, like, similar to you, like, it depends on what I'm doing and what my intention is. And similar to you, I have different deities that come in at different times, I'm not from a Hindu point of view, I'm not from a Hindu ideology, but yet at times I'm seeing Kali. When I was in a ceremony recently, I had, Haile Selassie and Jah, the Rastafarian god, come to me, and I'm like scratching my head going, why have I got Jah here? Why have I got a Rastafarian god? I'm not Rasta. I'm not from the Rastafarian bloodline. And he wanted to speak to me, and he told me some major stuff that then transpired. And then from that point, I'm feeling the energy, and I'm like, right, okay, I need to honour him. He's come in, he's given me information, he's helped me. So at that point, I'm feeling that energy. Then I might have Santa Muerta coming in, which is, sort of Mexican sides of things coming in. And then another time I might have Ganesh coming in. So it's a whole kind of mixture, because I'm always kind of transitioning. I'm going through constant transformation. I'm never staying in one place. And for me, as a person, I don't think I could dedicate myself just to one god, one deity. And I think because I'm dealing with all different clients from different religions, different backgrounds, different ideology, I have to remain flexible. And at different points of my life, I'll call in a different deity.
I think that's where it's coming to its own for me, actually, with the different people that I deal with. Having that sort of insight into all of the different ways of different people has really actually helped.
It's just a different schooling, because I have a thirst for knowledge. I mean, with the rattles and stuff like that, I mean, obviously that can be quite shamanic, because again, I work with sort of quantum healing, I work with sound healing. Again, it just depends. Each practitioner is different, Sometimes I'll work with sort of, I won't work with any instruments. I'll just use my hands. I'll use Florida water. But again, with the Budain side, the Santeria side, they use drums sometimes. They use rattles. They use whatever they've got. It just really depends on what's coming through and how they're guided. But I don't set one rigid format. I always go with, like, channeling and what I feel drawn to use, or what deity's presence to sort of honour or work with that deity. And sometimes the deities might like certain things. They might like sort of dragon's blood. They might like a different kind of offering. So it just entirely depends on what I'm using and doing. And that's kind of why I don't really like stating that I'm one thing. I mean, on my sort of profile, when I'm working with people, it's easier to say, okay, shamanic practitioner. People understand, or getting more understanding about shamanism. 5-6 years ago, people didn't even know about it. I think when you start saying witchcraft, it can scare people. And again, people have a very warped sense of understanding. It's different for you and I, because we understand it. It's natural, it's normal to us. But the mainstream that I'm dealing with, if I put witch, it can be quite scary. So I have to kind of dilute it, and in a way put white witch. It frustrates me, because for me there is no such thing as a white witch. When you start working with energy, or you start manipulating energy for somebody's desires, it loses the whole white witch thing. It loses the whole kind of, because we're manipulating it, you know. So for me, there is no white as such. It's all intention, and I just work with energies. There's no evil, there's no bad. It's just different intensities. But as I say, for the mainstream, I have to be more politically correct, I guess, and put labels on it. But as you know, we don't really like labels because it's so difficult to explain kind of what we do.
Yeah. The word witch is just so tainted but I just don't know even how to refer to what it is that I do without using that term. Because if I said that, I'm an energy weaver or something, it just sounds so cheesy.
You're a magic weaver.
You know, I'm an energy weaver, but I don't. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I kind of liken it to the rites that in Catholicism. People understand all that with the incense for air and candles for fire, etc., and the prayers. And prayers work because they're said billions of times a day all over the world. So, they're very powerful.
We're either cursing ourselves or we're blessing ourselves. Everything we say, whether you look in the mirror and go, oh my God, I'm fat, I'm ugly, or I'm awesome, I'm amazing, or, I really love you, or I really hate you. That's a spell, as you were saying, every word is a spoken spell. People don't realise this. We can curse or literally bless ourselves and others.
Well, it's called swear words, curse words.
Yeah, cursing.
And we say, it was cursing. And when he says cursing, he's swearing. and we use all of these words and people are just oblivious to what they're saying, and now it connects into, actual magic with a K.
David, have you ever done any sort of witchcraft? Have you ever seen any magic unfold?
No,
Believe in it?
No, I've never done anything like that. All I've been involved in sometimes is just paranormal investigations or UFO hunting. That's just about my limit, really. I have seen some strange things when I've done some paranormal investigations, like the table lifting, for instance, what you said earlier. I've experienced that.
Do you believe in sort of magic and witchcraft?
I think I've got to. I mean, because when I hear you and Sasha talk, I know that you don't talk rubbish. Although I haven't seen it myself, I do think I've got to believe in it because of by the people that I know. So, that's all. I suppose it's having faith in what you say and what Sasha says,
Sasha, we might have to do a little ritual for David. We'll go round there and get the candles out and doing magic.
When Sasha was at my place when I was living in Suffolk, I'll be mentioned just a couple of times when Frank came. It's not really the same sort of thing, is it, as what he did? But he gave us a demonstration of transfiguration mediumship.
That's mediumship.
And it was amazing. I know it's not the same thing as what you're talking about, but I have seen some things that have,
That was mad, that.
It was, yeah. I mean, we all saw it. And as I say, I've said it before, I didn't think anything was going to happen, but, so we all saw his face changing.
I didn't think anything would happen, and I was thought, at first it was my eyes, and then it wasn't my eyes. It was absolutely crazy. He partially had this yellow glow coming out of one side of him, and then all these faces were just sort of coming down and across his face and moving off. It was the maddest thing I've ever seen.
But, like you say though, Indigo, if ever you do come to visit and you come with Sasha or whatever, yes, please do. Give me some demonstrations.
Yeah, definitely, because I do transfiguration as well, so for me it's not really, amazing. I don't know, it's not, because it's just, I was born like it, so for me I've had many years to sort of get used to it, and I forget sometimes
Well, I mean, like Sasha, I don't know if Sasha...
They see my face shifting, and it's...
Yeah, so I don't know if Sasha had seen that before, but I hadn't seen it before, and I kind of thought, I just couldn't imagine that I was going to be seeing it, you know, when Frank Willis, our friend, did it, and it was just amazing, you know, and I'd love to see it again. I'm hoping when Frank visits again, he'll do it again for us, but yeah, that was, I mean, if you can do it as well, Indigo, that's a bonus as well. But yeah, as I say, so I know things. I do believe in the paranormal. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing this show otherwise. But you know, but I haven't got any witchy powers or anything like that I know of. Anyway, but I can.
What's your superpower, Dave?
What's what?
You've got to have a superpower.
A superpower?
Yeah, everyone's got one.
Well, the only thing I think I might have, which I've never put into use, because I've been told that I've got healing power in my hands, but I've never actually used it as, you know, as such. But I've been told by a couple of mediums that I've got that power, because my hands are always very, very warm. And I've said this before.
Yeah, the palms of my hands, they go bright red. They're really hot and uncomfortable.
As I say, whether that's actually true or not, I really don't know. I can't, you know, as I say, I've not put it to use. Maybe I should have done, I don't know. But
it's never too late. It's never too late.
Yeah, it's just that I see myself as just an ordinary man, basically. I don't think I've got anything special or anything like that. And I feel that if I went round telling everyone I've got healing powers, they're going to look at me and think, you're mad, mate. You know, that type of thing. So that's kind of why I've never sort of tried to do anything like that. You know, I've just always been interested in the paranormal, UFOs, only because of what I've seen and experienced. You know, it's so I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
yeah, it does.
But I tell you what, we can't end this show without talking about your martial arts. Now, a couple of months ago, or was it maybe 6 weeks ago, you did a little demonstration on Facebook. And it knocked me out. But well, it would have knocked me out if I'd have been in the room with you, because you did that demonstration with the Bruce Lee. What are they called? Those chains with the sticks.
Them nunchuckies.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I was absolutely. I thought you were going to smash the television eventually. You know, when it was behind you. And the way you were slinging them about, and I thought, good God. I mean, if you sort of slipped with those, you'd really do yourself some damage. But yeah, it was something to behold, I must say. But,
yeah.
Anyway, Indigo, if anyone was to get in touch with you to get readings or whatever, you still got your website going, I presume?
No, it's under construction at the moment. So the best place to find me is Indigo Phoniex on Facebook. That's probably the best place, to be honest. Or I've got Indigo Phoniex International Psychic Medium page, which they can email me on. That's the best place to find me. It's got my email on there. Okay. So if you just type in Indigo Phoniex, I'll come up. You can't really miss my profile. No, you can't really. But I mean, obviously on the Paranormal Dimensions page, I shall put a link on it anyway. But as I say, well, once again, it's been fantastic having you on, Indigo, and thank you for being patient with silly questions and stuff. No. Thank you for having me, guys. It's been great.
No, it's been nice speaking to you again, and maybe this time next year we can do another one.
I'll definitely wait and see what unfolds.
Yeah, see what happens. We have to see if there's any, if we're not in middle of World War III, which you seem to think we're not going to be, so hopefully we won't be.
No.
Yeah. I've got some mad stuff going on coming up, so...
Have you?
In August, I'll be speaking at the Outer Limits conference with...
Oh, of course you will. I'll see you there, won't I?
Yeah, one of the other witnesses is speaking. I will just be introducing him and standing up there with him. And, so that's August. And then next year something quite big and interesting, but I'm not saying anything.
Ooh, good.
Because, trolls, lols.
You've probably got. I know you've got another show to do with me in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, talking to Kaz Clark.
Kaz Clark, so that we've got that to look forward to. But
Yep.
as things are now with Indigo Phoniex, and it was a great show again, Indigo. Thank you for coming. Thanks for the spare of the time. I know you were very busy swinging those things about.
And nutcracker sweet.
Anyway, take care of yourself, and hopefully we'll see you at some point. Keep in touch and let us know how you're getting on.
I will do. Take care, guys.
Cheers, Indigo. Cheers, Sasha. Thanks very much for your help again, and been nice speaking to you. And we'll leave it there. All right. Cheers.
Bye.
No. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Right, you've been listening to Paranormal Dimensions. I'm David Young on the Paranormal UK Radio Network. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed that. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.